Okay, calling to order the Planning Commission study session of Thursday, May 17th. Items for consideration. Item number 1, Loyola Corners Estates. Nope. Yep. Establish a quorum. So everyone is here except Ronit, who is conflicted, and Phoebe, our chair, who should be here, maybe late. Okay, now on to 99 Fremont Avenue. Zach?
Yes, good evening, Vice Chair and members of the Planning Commission. The item before you, this is a architectural and site review study session for the proposed project at 999 Fremont Avenue. As you can see in the rendering before you, we are looking at a mixed-use proposal. It does include approximately 1,500 square feet of commercial, retail, personal service space on the ground floor facing Fremont Avenue, and 3 condominium units, approximately 1,400 to 1,500 square feet in size, on the second floor. And we've got a couple aerial 3D images there. It is a small triangular site, currently occupied by a drive-through kind of coffee shop cafe with some surface parking. It is bounded by Fremont, Miramonte, and A Street. The goal of tonight's meeting is for the Commission to provide preliminary feedback and direction to the applicant and to staff. Following this, the project will proceed forward with formal review once it has been deemed complete, going to the Complete Streets Commission, coming back to the Planning Commission for formal review for the full application, and then on to City Council for final action. With that in mind, the staff report kind of provides a brief overview of kind of the parameters and the findings that should kind of guide your comments and feedback. And with that, we're looking at the general plan, looking at our land use and community design elements. Those include various goals, policies, and objectives to kind of guide new development. In this case, we are also looking at the Loyola Corner specific plan. We haven't completed our full review, but based on a preliminary assessment, the project appears to comply with all applicable sections and is generally consistent with the design guidelines in the specific plan. We also have our design review findings. Those are the primary findings that guide the Commission when you're considering a design review application such as this. And then there are also design controls within the zoning ordinance, in this case the CN district, that are slightly more specific to the area and the district, and then kind of a second layer of design review as well. And so overall, that's kind of the parameters that should guide your comments. And beyond that, I am available for any questions, and I know the applicant is here as well.
Any questions or clarifications for staff? Go ahead.
There's a note in the staff report that staff has provided feedback to the applicant, but the applicant hasn't incorporated those and is intending to incorporate staff's comments after we've provided ours. Are there any of those comments that would be wise to share with us, or would you prefer we not know what you told him?
In general, I mean, the application was deemed complete. The goal of the study session, it either falls either pre-application or at the very front end of the process, and ideally we like to incorporate the feedback from Planning Commission along with staff comments so the applicant kind of can consider all of that when they revise. In general, it was mainly technical corrections, additional information to meet all of our submittal requirements and ensure the technical studies were current and up to speed. So there was nothing groundbreaking. I would say it was primarily a lot of smaller technical corrections to get the plans in a complete state.
Thank you.
Zach, you said is it deemed complete or incomplete at this point?
It is deemed incomplete right now. We completed our review at the end of last week and provided a comment letter. So at this point, it is incomplete.
Okay.
Lucky me. Well, where are we?
Zach just went through his introduction, and we're just at the question or clarification for staff.
Okay. Who has a question for Zach?
actually have one question. Just, has staff looked at A Street yet? And what the recommendation's going to be, whether it's going to be a one-way street, leave it two-way? I know that there's been some concern about that, but I don't know if that's in the works or will be.
My recollection is that for now, it will remain a one-way street. I think a lot of the circulation elements are part of the Loyola Corners, original Loyola Corners.
You mean a
specific
two-way
plan.
street?
Pardon me?
It's going to be a two-way street.
It'll remain a two-way street,
Okay.
correct.
That was the question. Okay, so, Mr. Bunker, would you care to take us through this?
Rolling on its own.
The mic.
Kind of good. There you go.
Good afternoon, and haven't seen you all some of you for a couple of years, so it's nice to see you. We've worked pretty hard, as you know, and in the entitlement process for about 4 years. The first submittal, we did a pretty good job. Spent some time with Phoebe. Regarding the first submittal, which was about 6 residential units. And then we did a lot more work and brought on a new architectural firm and redid the project and downsized it to 5 units. Did a little more work and made some changes and brought it down to 4 residential units. And now we're down to 3 residential units, and I hired the Dahlin Group, I think, who's been doing an excellent job in town with various projects, successful, and they would be there to supervise the project, to build it out in the same quality that they've supervised 101st Street and other projects that they've brought to this city. We have worked pretty close with the planners to review all of the things that needed to be addressed in the various designs. We have adequately parked the project. We have, went with all the materials that would complement the neighboring buildings and fit in with what we understand to be the desired scale, et cetera. We have, tentatively reviewed all the comments from staff, and everything in there seems to be fine with their requests, and would be making those changes necessary. The architect, we just got them, and apologize for the fact that Brett is out of the state, but he will be watching it and be taking copious notes so that when we come back to you for official plan review, we would be looking to address any additional issues you have.
Okay. Thank you. If anybody wanted to speak at this, I think we need a slip, or is this not open to public comment?
It's open to public comment,
Yeah.
right?
So if anybody's here who would like to make a comment, fill out the slip. Aha. And if you
And turn it in.
You could fill it out even afterward, just remember to do it. Thank
Well,
you, Mr. Bunker.
Aren't we going to, before you
Oh,
turn
yes.
it over to?
No, I was just telling
Okay.
her now.
Okay.
Does anybody have questions for the applicant? Yes.
Yes. Hi, Greg, nice to
Hi,
see you.
Sally.
So, a couple questions. Looking, I know we don't necessarily need to deal with the numbers so much tonight. It's not the official application, but when I was looking at A2, showing the parking spaces, you have 2 handicapped and 4 regular spaces, and then your lift system for 6 or 8 cars.
Right.
And so to me, that would be 12 spaces at minimum, if not 14, whereas staff report had said 11. So I'm just going to point that out in case there's something we need to know about that. Staff report maybe is wrong.
There, We talked about that. We're asking for clarification on the parking lift, and one ADA is dedicated for the residential, and the other one is for commercial. So, yeah, it's at least 12, but depending on how the parking lift system works, it could be more.
Okay, but the.
We're happy to provide 8
Yeah.
spaces for the residential. You
Right.
can go with the upgraded puzzle lift that's very common.
Okay, and when you come back, you'll have it spelled out, which is residential, which is
I think
retail or
you
whatever.
can
However,
provide anything and everything you'd like.
okay, sounds good. On A3, I'm just going to go through my
Okay.
pages, and that's showing the basement floor plan. You have some very, very generous storage units. I mean, we might get some people living in there.
No windows.
But I see that you didn't, and it'd probably be hard to put anything else down there, but you didn't necessarily fully build out the basement. So I wondered if there were some scenarios you looked at where you maybe actually took advantage of additional underground space?
Well, we manage this company, Silicon Valley Property Management Group. We have 150 properties in the area and about 500 tenants. And what we find is something that they always never get enough of and want more of.
Storage.
Storage.
Okay.
So, there's not like we can provide a lot of amenities here, but we can create
The storage.
a lot of
Okay.
storage for them.
All right. And then I'm moving on, I think my last question, one question is, do you have a color board or anything, materials board, so we could see? I mean, I only got black and white. It looks like
Well,
some people got,
we have colors. We have color.
oh,
In the email has color too.
I guess.
Right. Colors are represented
Email?
online.
Yeah, all the
Files
colors are online.
Yeah.
right,
But
But the chair and the vice chair get
color, oh my God, that makes such a difference.
We'll make sure that everyone gets color when the project comes back.
Thank you, Zach.
Yeah, because it was really hard to tell necessarily what was going to go on in some of the elevations. And along that lines, and based on what I'm looking at in black and white,
we'll get you a
810.
color one, by the way.
What's that?
I will get you a color
That's,
delivered.
next time we'll have it.
Okay.
That'll be fine. A10, perfect. This is where.
Yours
So-
was all in black and white there, okay.
Yes, it makes it hard.
Well,
Second-class commissioners.
I'm sure that was totally unintentional.
Very-
So, looking at this, I assume the dark area in the center is the open area leading to the parking. Oh, it's not shown on the screen.
Anyway, we can bring it
Oh,
up.
over there now. Oh, I'm so confused.
Or if you've got your screen in front of
it's
you.
In my screen, I see it, yes. And then there's a lighter area, which I assumed is a closed area, but there's not much going on, and it doesn't really say what those materials are. Are those, what is that?
Zach, could you bring it up here?
It is there. It's to the right of the dark area on the ground floor. There's a sort of a whole wall. No, to the
No, the
right.
other side.
To the right. Right,
on ground floor.
yeah.
Well, I believe it's study.
So just a flat stucco base, okay. So there might be something to consider in terms of sprucing that up.
You can have whatever you
No, I'm just throwing out,
Well, but wait,
So
but
is,
wait, we're doing questions for the applicant now.
Yeah.
Because you can bring up your concern
Yes,
about
right,
that
I'll do
as
that
part
later.
of the discussion.
right.
Does anybody have specific questions?
Well,
have more?
I do have other.
I just wanted to lead you back.
So in the black and white version, I was not clear that that was a wall versus sort of a wider access. So I think, and then let me ask you just to confirm, roof access is just through, looks like one of those old-fashioned thing in the ceiling that you pull down and go in?
I was going to ask the architect about having something like that to pull down, but right now it's a ladder.
Right now, it's a ladder. Okay.
The
That's my,
commissioners would prefer a
right.
mechanism that draws down. I'd prefer it myself.
Okay. So those are my questions, and you've answered them. Thank you.
Then,
I have,
Yes, I have just a couple questions. For the entry.
wait, tell us the sheet number when.
Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah, A10, please.
Okay, we're on A10.
Yeah, for the vehicular entry, are you proposing just an opening, or will there be some type of a roll-down some type of grill or a closure to that garage?
I think we would have it close. We'd provide a door.
You provide some type of door? Okay, all right. So that's yet undetermined
Yeah.
as to what that is?
That'd be my preference.
Okay, all right. Okay, and, sorry.
Can I just clarify?
Yeah.
A door, you're talking about a vehicular gate?
We're talking about what's enclosing the garage at pedestrian level.
Correct, yeah. Some type of
Including
roll-down
the-
gate or roll-down, or
Because it's just a hole here.
right now it's just an
But
opening.
this is also parking for retail?
Yes?
Yes.
Yes,
Okay.
But it would be, no, that would only be like at 11 o'clock, or, whenever the homeowners group deemed they would like to have it close.
So there's a security issue there.
yes, it's a security issue, right. I would imagine.
And you had another question?
Sure, it's getting pretty granular. Just on the same sheet, the windows in general, I guess, is a question along the windows. You've provided some images, precedent images for these windows, but what kind of windows will they be? Are they vinyl, metal, wood?
What would be your preference?
Well, no, I'm just asking because you haven't.
I don't think it's determined.
Yeah, it's.
Yeah,
it hasn't
That's
been
one of
called
the
out.
questions.
Yeah, okay.
I'm happy to have whatever kind of windows you'd like.
Okay.
If it's metal, obviously, it's going to be double, if not triple pane.
Okay. And one last question is more of a general question because I don't have long history with this project or this application. The reason that you've gone from a 6-unit or 7-unit down to a 3 is?
Well, it was my preference to build 6 units.
Okay.
We, my strategy has been pretty much the same for the last 4 years. You gather up very competent attorneys, excuse me.
Yeah, we noticed
architects, and you go to the meet with the planning directors and so forth, and they tell you what you can build, and then you design it and you submit it, and then there's some pushback, and then in the spirit of let's keep moving forward, I redesigned it to 5 units, and then there was some additional pushback, and then I redesigned it to 4 units with what I thought was pretty cool looking 3,500 square foot third story with a beautiful deck on it that perhaps a family member might have lived in, but now we're down to 3 units and 2 stories.
So is it fair to say that it was based on scale?
It was based on
Okay.
the preferences of the community, I
Right.
suspect.
I can. Understood.
You finished, Duho?
Thank you.
Okay, Mike? Well,
Just to kind of provide some clarification on that, ultimately, there was an analysis and determination that the specific plan limits structures to 2 stories and 30 feet. So that was really the key driving factor that drove the design to 2 stories as opposed to 3 stories.
Thank you.
And then I had a question on A3. I don't know if the basement's been finished, but you've got a open door there, and versus something, since I have a storage unit, it's nice to have a rolling door. Is that concrete, or is that still
Are we
you
talking
mean the
A3?
access to the
A3
individual storage units?
into the storage units?
If it was a rolling overhead door
door.
as opposed to a person door,
Yeah,
that would be
exactly.
something?
Yeah,
You want a bigger opening in other
yeah,
But
because
again,
if you-
remember, we're not having the discussion, we're asking for questions.
Yeah, well, I
So
was
your
curious,
question was,
is this
is it
permanent?
written in stone?
Yeah.
Not yet.
Okay.
No permanency there.
Okay. And then on, the other question I had was on A5, because I'm not an architect, but it says trash, and then it looks like a solid wall, and then there's these 2 squares, and I didn't understand what the squares were.
Well, I think they're chutes. Would that be chutes?
Because they go all the way,
They drop, in other words, the.
right, but how do you,
residents-
but there's a wall there, so that's what my,
Well, I think you have to, I see your point.
it looks like a wall. Like I said, I'm not an architect, I'm just looking at it going, what?
Well-
And then it goes all the way to the roof.
I think there's vents.
Yeah.
It'd be vents.
I don't,
Yeah.
yeah, that's what,
think
I don't
it's
know.
mechanical.
Well, so the question is,
Well, there's probably,
please, what is this space? When you come back, let us know.
No, yeah.
yeah, there's probably going to be doors there, actually, wouldn't it?
I don't know, I'm just,
Somebody draws back so that you pull the cans out.
it just goes all the way to the
Yeah.
roof,
The
so I'm
ground
just,
floor has that.
yeah,
This is the
the
upper
first,
levels.
second, and the roof has it, so I'm not sure what it was. I just was asking if you could clarify that when you come back.
Okay,
Thanks.
be happy to do so. With
Question, Anita?
assorted cut sheets.
This one is for the applicant or for any of the architects on the dais who can help me out here. In the cover drawing on T1,
T1.
the very front page, that stone squarish protuberance on the left. I don't know what officially to call that. I've been trying to figure out how that space is used internally, and I'm having trouble. Can anybody
Elevator
help me
shaft.
out?
Isn't that the
That's
elevator?
the elevator shaft, or it contains the elevator.
Yeah. You can see it on A2, where you see the retail corner is glass in the lower left there where it says
Right,
retail 1.
and that Box.
And then that box with the X in it is the elevator cab, but then it appears that there's more of a volume expressed on the outside.
That's what I thought. That's why I was trying to figure
Correct.
it out.
Yeah. So I believe a third of it is actually the shaft facing adjacent to the street,
Yep,
and then the rest is really an expression.
okay.
Yeah.
It's a decorative element.
An architectural
An architectural
feature.
feature. Thank
Feature.
you.
Yes.
Any other questions from up here for Mr. Bunker? Okay, thank you. Now, if anybody from the public would like to speak, Zach will start the timer and pass them up here. And why don't you start first and introduce yourself?
Hi, I'm Debbie Skelton. I live at 1045 Fremont Avenue, quite close to this development. And so I'd like to say that I really like the look of this building. I think that it blends nicely with Loyola Corners. I like the colors, and I like the stone and wood and so forth. I think it looks nice. I guess what I'm trying to understand, I've been looking at these plans for a couple of days, is I don't get the parking, and I'm hearing your questions, but I still don't quite get it. Is there an outside parking for the lower floor, where the retail people will park? And then it looks like there's more parking in a basement, but I don't see how they all turn around to get out. And so I'm a little worried about the parking because there is no curbside, and I don't understand it. Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
So I still don't, I've looked at this on my computer, and I just don't get it. So this is ground floor, I see this. So these are the people who would park to shop here,
Yes,
and where is so the retail is here?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, and here?
correct.
Okay, and so then for those two retails, we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 parking space. 3 of them are regular, so 1, 2, 3, 4 parking space, and 2 handicap.
Mm-hmm.
All right, so this is all for retail.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, and then what's that?
Well, that's the parking for the residential.
How do you get there?
Well, you drive in.
There's a mechanical lift
It's
system.
a lift, so it goes up and down.
Oh, so.
So it's stacked.
So there's 3 down, so there's 3 on top and then 3 in the basement?
Well,
How does
I think
that
we're
equal?
actually going to go with,
How does that make 8?
we're actually going to go with the 8. It's a puzzle lift. Do you guys know the difference between a puzzle lift and a?
And you know what? Let's just finish with Debbie if has other
Okay.
issues. 'Cause let her
So,
give
yeah,
the
I guess
chance,
this is
so.
part of what I don't understand, what he's starting to explain is what I really don't quite get.
It's a mechanical lift system accepted at this moment, and then you can talk to staff later.
Okay, all right. Those are my main concerns. I think I can't quite tell if it's going to seem too bulky up for the size of the lot. I'm a little concerned about setbacks, but overall, I think it's quite lovely. I think it would look good in the neighborhood. My concerns are setbacks. Do we have a promenade along Fremont? I can't tell what side that is that we're looking at.
That's Fremont.
That's Fremont. So does the promenade continue from the other promenade?
Straight across?
So it all matches up?
Yeah.
And we have a promenade. Okay, so I guess I'm a little concerned about setbacks. possibly too bulky, but I can't tell because this is not my thing, and I'm a little concerned about the parking, and that's it.
Thank you, Debbie.
Thank you.
And the next speaker is Teresa.
Hi, I'll try to be quick. Teresa Morris, live on the other side of the creek in Loyola Corners. Main concerns are what I always say, it's noise. Noise, noise, noise. So I'd love to see the garage on the other side and not on Miramonte, because the Miramonte side is where the neighbors are. So the whole thing with the Loyola Corners specific plan is with the CN zone, we protect our neighbors from noise. There's so much noise already coming in from that district now with the post office and construction. It'd be great if we could be considered, it's the same consistent thing I've said every time we've come about a design there. I agree, it looks good. I'm concerned about bulk. I definitely think we're having a problem with the concept of setbacks. I'd like to see that figured out, because there should be setbacks. There is a front to the building, there is a rear to the building. Let's define it and let's figure that out. Thank you.
Thank you. And so with that, I have no more requests to speak. Close the public hearing, and we can give our input, because our mission tonight is to give the applicant input relative to him passing it on with his architect so that they can present a design that incorporates as much input from us as possible when he does his actual submittal. So, Duho, why don't you go first?
Sure, sure. Okay. I think overall, for me, this project, as stated in some of the comments coming out of the design review, addresses a number of concerns regarding scale, proportions, and scale relative to the human scale, and the streetscape. And I think there's a number of things from a material standpoint that are quite sensitive and quite successful. I do, however, think that there's an opportunity here to address the corner of Fremont and Miramonte. And I say that because if you're approaching this project from the south, this building becomes quite a gateway piece into this precinct. And I think there's an opportunity to sort of celebrate that corner, which in this view is on the right-hand side, in this T1 cover sheet. And I believe that there's an opportunity to sort of express that corner in a different way, or acknowledging the importance of that corner architecturally. I think one of the things that are being done, and it's illustrated by the various views that are given on top of the Google map, I believe, which is on page A1. But there's a sort of a sense that the building reads very consistently on all three sides in terms of having a datum of a kind of a base of stone, a band that distinguishes the base, the stone base, from the board and batten articulation above, and that sort of runs uniformly. So in some ways, it feels a little bit like a layer cake that is consistently articulated all the way around the three sides. And I think, again, there's potentially an opportunity to sort of break that at that corner in order to highlight that corner as an important element. And I see that more as an opportunity for this particular project. I think the stone, the lift core, the elevator lift core, and the articulation of the stone there is quite successful, and it gives a little bit of interest and break to that particular corner, which is on A Street and Fremont. But I think something equally special can happen at the corner of Fremont and Miramonte. So in terms of the overall sort of I guess, planning and concept, maybe perhaps that's something that the architect can look at as an opportunity.
You're talking about, I mean, this is kind of articulated with a circular.
Sure.
Two-story.
Absolutely. Absolutely. But perhaps there's a potential to maybe raise it, or, I don't know.
Have it go to 30 feet there?
Not saying that.
Okay.
But again, it's an opportunity. The other element that I'd like to focus on is more about the materiality. And again, focusing on, I guess there's a precedent image page. I forget what page that's on.
A11?
Is it A11?
Are you looking for A14? Imperial?
No, he's looking forward. There are other buildings that were used as the inspiration.
Inspiration, correct.
It's on LA14.
LA, yeah, there you go, yeah. And, right.
Yes, I think A14.
Sure. And again, when I look at these images, they're quite wonderful. And
What sheet are we on?
A14, sorry. Yeah, A14.
It's up on the screen.
Yeah. And let me focus on the retail bay windows image, which is on the lower left-hand side. And the windows that you're showing there are quite lovely in terms of their detail and their sort of articulation. And I'm not quite seeing the same correspondence. Although you're referring this as sort of inspirational images, I'm not seeing this level of detail and articulation in the current windows that you're proposing. And in some ways, in my opinion, they feel quite under-articulated in your renderings of the project. So I hearken back to page T1. I think the level of windows on the ground level, there's some bay windows articulated on the retail portion of the ground level, seem a bit under-articulated. And the same could be said about the residential windows above that seem to be without any sort of articulation in terms of mullions or muntins, again, which seems to be a little bit incongruous with the images that you're showing as your inspiration. Okay. So further consideration may be given to that, because I think that will add another level of richness to the project. I like the balconies a lot. I think they help to sort of break your elevations and overall massing in a nice way. So let me conclude with that for the time being.
Okay.
Thank you.
Anita, do you want to step in? Okay, Mike.
Go ahead. So,
I was going to go back and forth, but we'll do it this way.
all right, down the line. So one thing I'd like to see is, and I'll use T1, and I'm piggybacking on what was commented, is the view from it's Fremont and the off-ramp down that line. You've got views of everything else but that one corner.
Right.
And so I don't, you can see it in the Google map, but it's not, what I would like to see is a street level view of looking down Fremont and the rest of Loyola Corner and how this fits in with all the other buildings that are there. And then the other thing is for some reason, that corner on the other side of Fremont and A Street, the windows there, I know that it's like a shop window, but I have to say, it doesn't feel like it's in place with everything else that you've got there. But I'm looking at a black and white thing. I don't know if in color it doesn't look, it just looks out of place. Just for me, when I looked at it, just from an aesthetics point of view. I mentioned already about the garage and, thinking about if somebody had to move furniture in and out, how are they going to do that? My other concern is the trash. From where it looks like, are those going to be bins that are going to be wheeled out? Because you're not going to be able to get the trash dumpster in there, right? I mean, the trash, what do they call it? The garbage truck.
Yeah. With all the previous submittals, we went with the trash company, and they gave us all the information, and we met all those requirements. And
Okay.
we believe we have already now, but one of the staff's requests is to reiterate that with the new drawings, but they
Yeah.
all match up. So
Because
we're just
Miramani,
gonna The residents are just going to bring them out on trash day.
So they'll have to bring those out and then put them where? On the street?
That's,
And then does that
Do you
impact?
recall in previous submittals, there was a discussion where the trash company would actually go get them and put them back, I
That's
believe.
what we're asking, is that we have a.
Yeah, I
trash
believe that is available, where they go in, bring them out,
Yeah.
empty them, and put them back.
Yeah, yeah. No, my concern is that Miramonte doesn't have
any space.
any space on it to put
Right.
something there. Cars have to go up and
I
down.
think that's what we're prepared to do.
Yeah, and I have that similar concern, and I assume that staff will look at that, is Miramonte itself and turning in and out of this garage that's on Miramonte. I know that if you try to put it on A Street, you're not going to have enough room either, so I don't know what, it's not like a good solution, but my concern is if you're coming into this and you're coming from Fremont Street, you got to make that right, and then you got to wait and try to make the left, and that's going to maybe block traffic, because I don't know if it's a two-way street. I don't think, it's not 4 lanes. It's a two-way street. There's a lot of space to the right, but just to make sure that gets addressed and looked at. I think that was pretty much, I knew I had something else, but I think that'll be enough for now.
Well, if-
Oh, I know what it is.
Oh, good.
On A10, this is picking up where Sally, because I actually had a little note here too, that space of wall to the right of the, keep going, A10, a little more. There you go. That area, it'd be nice to carry that stone over, just from aesthetic view because there's a lot of gray there, and the rest of the building looks great.
Brown,
Brown,
pewter brown.
whatever color.
Yeah, you're looking black and white, well,
I'm sorry.
it's
All in
grays
favor
and
of stone?
browns and stuff.
If you want stone, it can be stone.
Yeah. I think stone, just something to carry that through, because when I look at the building on this side, it's like it's on the left, but it's nothing on the right.
I'm happy to put stone there.
Yeah, those are my comments.
Okay. Alex?
I think my comments are pretty minimal. I think you did a great job.
Thank you.
Overall. I guess if we look at A2 along A Street, at the parking garage, along A Street, that is, I think that's windows. Right? At the end of the parking garage, overlooking A Street, I think that's windows.
Correct, you can see it in T1.
Yeah. And I don't know that you want to have windows looking straight at that lift system. And so I like the idea of having a different material there and breaking it up, but maybe it's some sort of like, don't know, you can correct me if I'm wrong, pronouncing it wrong, but vanilla glass or whatever it is, where it's not, is that right?
Yeah, at those
Something
openings
where
there.
it's translucent instead of transparent?
I see.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that would be one recommendation that I would have. I just don't think we want to have a lot of visibility into that lift system. And
Correct me if I'm wrong, but with the puzzle system, there isn't any visibility into it, is there?
Well,
You have an opening
looking
for
at
the car that, there's always, like, for instance.
there's a metal cage that goes around.
Yeah.
So,
Correct.
Right, but I mean, with the puzzle lifts, I believe that you only see the opening.
There's a whole metal cage that goes,
is there?
Yeah.
around it.
I was curious, how do you get 8 cars in a 6-car spot?
Well, I think this is shown probably with the dimensions for the 6-car, and I would have just imagined that it's,
Skinnier if you
it's a
have four.
skinnier and
Gotcha.
something gets rearranged. Maybe that planter bumps out or something, I don't know.
That was a completeness comment to provide additional details about how the lift will function.
Is there any requirements for ventilation that suggest that opening or the window needs to be an open window for the garage area?
I think it depends on what the car door turns out to be.
Right.
Because if that's
Yes.
not perforated in any way, then yes, I think there is a ventilation issue.
Yeah.
My second comment was whether, again, kind of dressing up Fremont Street at the second level. Don Ho alluded to, perhaps improving the windows. Maybe there's some other architectural feature like, a Juliet balcony or some kind of false balcony or something that ties into the rest of Loyola Corners. I think a lot of those have some kind of balconies along Fremont, and so trying to dress that up a little bit.
Okay.
And the gore at the Flatiron, or essentially at Fremont and Miramonte, didn't bother me as much, but I thought maybe there was an opportunity to soften it up a little bit with some landscaping or something in front of that window system. It doesn't look like you're going all the way out to the property line, so maybe there's an opportunity to introduce
In that little small triangle right here?
Yeah.
Well, that's the sidewalk.
Oh, got it. So you are, yeah,
Yeah.
you're right. I take that back.
The concept is good. How it gets done is probably not going to be a planter in front of it. But if you're thinking as a concept that you'd like that softened, that's appropriate, and then his design professional can come up with whatever solution.
And that was really it for me.
Okay. Sally?
Okay, I will probably be brief because I'm going to try, I won't be repetitive. I was going to say exactly what Duho said. Thank you for saving me the time. No, I'm teasing, of course. So obviously, as we're each going through and we're giving you things that we've noticed, and your architect will know enough not to do everything we're saying, because we're reacting to it as is and saying, here's an item I see, or here's, so if you do everything that we've all mentioned, it's going to get way too busy and messy and chaotic. So don't take us literally. As a whole, as a group, this is not a list, a to-do list per se. So with that, I'm going to talk about A9, that's the Fremont Avenue frontage. And if I could see it in color, that would help. And I think there that, again, based on some of the feedback you're getting, depending on what you do, but that, I think that entryway needs to stand out more somehow, whether it's above, below, or to really announce, there's something here you can do and it's interesting. So again, how you do that, and depending what you're doing elsewhere based on the feedback, I think that entrance could have just a little bit more. There was a picture that showed some nice planter with lavender in it that was somewhere else in this packet, and that actually made it look more inviting than this A9, and I think it was the same view.
Maybe?
Maybe.
It looks like it could be raised, for one thing, right?
Well, and I don't want to get into specifics because I don't want to, I'm just saying that it looks like it could use a little pizzazz there, and that may be addressed through some of the other things that we've mentioned anyway. But just to say, here's an entrance. If you go in this door, there's something exciting to do here, or whatever. And then I would like to see, and we already commented, a couple of us, on A10, the blank wall, whether you carry the stone around. I think that would be helpful. I'd like to see A11 in this color. This is the A Street. And to me, this looks really charming. Now, again, the comments about windows, I don't really know if there's a window at the lift there, because there's planters there, and maybe the windows are just where that driveway section is. But this is a really attractive elevation, I think.
Yeah, so I think it's the most successful one.
Yeah. So I'm just going to say, if if all the views can be as pleasing as this one, then, you know, this is going to be a great addition. So, and one general point about colors, so looking at your color palette on the bottom, and the Dallin Group does this well, so I probably don't need to say it, but sometimes color differences are so subtle you don't see them, and sometimes they're so stark that they're just kind of not pleasing. So hopefully there's enough, because what we're looking up at here is very subtle gradations that may not translate on the larger scale. So they should pick just the right balance between too subtle and too stark to make it, you know, make it all work together really well, which I'm sure they'll do, because I have seen them do that.
Good.
So that's and I think you've done a great job with an awkward space. I don't need to tell you how awkward it is, I'm sure. Our town is also triangular, and that has its challenges, but you've actually fulfilled, at least in what we're looking at now, all the setback requirements. So, you know, it's not an issue with what you brought forward that we're looking at today. So thank you for being persistent.
Thank you for your comments.
Okay, Anita?
Hey. In no particular order. I am concerned about traffic. I realize we're talking about design here and not traffic, but I do have some, I think the longer term and next step, some concerns about traffic flow, ingress, egress from the garage, impact on the neighbors, whether the garbage trucks are going in and out of that, and the fact that that faces where the neighbors are, and how we mitigate for that kind of noise and that kind of thing. That's a concern. Another one is the sidewalks, and I have two concerns about the sidewalks. One is, I know there's no sidewalk on the A Street side now, and it looks like there won't be one here, which is fine. And one of the reasons that this looks, I think the elevation looks so nice on A11 is that there's therefore more landscaping here because you're not having to provide for a sidewalk. So my concern is that where we do have sidewalks, that the landscaping, I'm afraid, is maybe interfering with the ADA requirements. So I'm really looking forward to seeing clearer on both the Fremont and the Miramonte side about making sure that those sidewalks are ADA compliant and yet still somehow have enough landscaping to make it as beautiful as A11 on the A Street side looks. With respect to the promenade, I remember when we discussed in the Loyola Corners plan, the specific plan revisions, the desirability of carrying that promenade feel all the way down Fremont. And looking at this, I'm frankly having a hard time imagining that there's really a wide enough sidewalk on this Fremont side or enough setback. Building this to a zero lot line with only what the city's sidewalk easement is really gives that promenade look, and that is concerning to me. I really don't think we have that same feeling that we have once we're on the other side of A Street. So that's really probably my biggest design concern here. The windows, I'm right with Mike on a number of his comments about windows and requests. I am not an architect, but when I look at the windows on the, make sure I get the right size here.
A14.
Nope. Okay, I'll just take them one by one. On the Fremont Avenue side, I like, and I don't know what you call them, but the windows that are on either side of where the entrance is, whatever you do with those, and I know our new commissioner made some comments about maybe making those a little bit more articulated or whatever, but they look incongruent somehow to me with the things that are on the ends. And I don't know why that is. I'm not an architect. They just look kind of incongruent to me. When I get to the Miramonte side, same comment about the stone, but again, the windows that are on the corner and then the windows that are immediately adjacent to the opening, that doesn't look congruent to me. The ones on A11, that's going to get obscured more with the landscaping and so on, so what's there in the way of windows that sees into the garage is maybe not so important. But when you look at the face of this on the Fremont side, so I go back to A9 if we can. Zach, can you go to A9, please? and I realize that most of the people who will be looking at this side, well, you're not going to be really across the street from it. Most people are going to be on the street. But in our design guidelines, it talks about distinguishing in mixed-use buildings between the residential portion and the business portion. And to me, it's almost like the business portion looks more residential and the residential portion looks more stark and less like it's lived in. So that those windows that are on that upper floor, to me, look very kind of bleh.
Yeah.
That's a technical term.
Is that a good technical term for a non-architect to use? It's
Yes,
just kind of
we often use that term as well.
good. Thank you. I'm so happy to hear that. So it just kind of looks bleh to me. So somebody who's an architect can maybe make those look a little bit better. And then on the Miramonte side, which does face the residential area, maybe some better things can be done so that, again, same kind of comment. It just kind of, those windows don't do anything for me. I'm concerned, I said, about garbage, and I think that's all I have.
Thanks, guys. So, I want to start by saying, no one said this. This is a tremendous progression from where you started from. And I think it's wonderful to see the quality of the architecture that's coming out here in terms of choice of materials and scale and breaking up the volume and recognizing that this building is visible from all three sides at different perspectives. I think that you should be commended. It is really a wonderful thing. When I opened the packet, I was thinking, oh, God, no. And then I went, oh, boy. So that's a good thing. In terms of my overall view of it, I concur that I think the detailing of the windows, that is to say how big they are they broken into multiple panes, where are they located, how are they framed or not framed, I think that and the selection of the window material has often been something that's a make or break on these bigger projects. Mm-hmm. We have been burned by people who proposed windows of a certain quality and then they got axed during how shall we say, economic conditions and
Value engineering?
Yes, value engineering. That was the point I was looking for. And so we are very sensitized to the fact that the windows are very important. With that said, I think that you could, and the discussion with your design professional, discuss the fact that a lot of the comments all would tie into windows in terms of providing emphasis on different sections, making, for example, more character takes care of the blech, but also I was thinking that if you had a vocabulary that said at each of these points, the entry, the corner, the anchor, there is one vocabulary, and then I'm going to use a different related but less emphatic vocabulary for the other ones that relate to it, and then maybe there's a third tier of still related but even less so dealing with the residential. I think that has the potential to pull a lot of the comments and the concerns together. For me, I thought the landscape was terrific, but I am very concerned not only the ADA requirements, but because one of the things that Loyola Corners is trying to do is reinforce and encourage the pedestrian experience there. It is very much a place where people walk from their houses to this commercial area. And so the fact that there is a lot of extensive landscaping shown on the landscape plans, I was hoping that when you come back, bring your landscape designer with you, because I don't really see the reality of this unless the building shrinks down by about 5% so that you can actually have a walkway that's more than 3 feet wide with planters. So there's a part of me that loves the way it looks, but is somewhat cynical about whether it could actually be realized in this. And I think that there was a comment from a member of the public that the pedestrian experience in continuing the walking pedestrian alley along Fremont, I think that there could be more. There's a good start to it. I think there could be somewhat more. And if the building pulled back just a hair, it might improve the the visibility getting in and out of the garage, and in terms of the getting expanded landscaping and still having a pedestrian experience, and maybe you could then have the overhangs continue in a way that echoes the covered walkway that's further down. And similarly, with this building that's so visible on three sides, I think that a good thing that we should point out is that each side has a special feature. And I think that's important because, as we know, this building is incredibly visible to everybody on all sides. And so I think you did a really good job in encouraging that recognition of each side being somewhat unique or have some unique character. I'm concerned, again, it's echoing the pedestrian experience, and I think this is something doable. It's the view in through the phenolic or non-phenolic glass on one side of the garage and the opening for cars on the other. That is always in our buildings. The garage is a thing that's not human scale. It's designed for cars. And so how it's dealt with, I think, is critical, and particularly because you have two of them and only one of them is actually an entry. So I think there's a possibility to play with what the material, what it looks like at a human scale on the non-entry side, and then make your decision as to how you're going to deal with it's open when the retail's open, but then when it closes, what does it look like? Because people on a night like tonight, for example, where it doesn't get dark until 9, people are walking along there. It would be nice, even if there was a gate, if the gate was attractive, maybe was not solid but had some perforations so that even though it was secure, people get a sense of something behind it so it didn't feel like a wall there.
Yeah.
So I have to repeat, though, I was so pleased to see this because I really feel that a lot of the sensibility of what makes Loyola Corners itself is the use of materials, the change of board and batten, the scale, the breaking of the roofs, all of those things, and yet it also has some fairly modern features. And so I think it's very well integrated, and I look forward to window refinement and thoughtfulness to the overall pedestrian experience, which will have to do with windows and whatever. And I know it's mean of me to say if you made your building a little smaller, it would help because you've already made it a lot smaller, but it's that pedestrian experience that I think would, even if it was a foot on each side, would allow that much more planting and still have two people walking side by side with a baby carriage, which is kind of what I envision there. So, is there anybody who's had additional thoughts while we were talking and would like to have a second bite of the apple?
Sure.
I would.
Please.
Well, my question is, I'm concerned about is the signage for the businesses and where that's going to be, because everybody's going to want some way to say, hey, we're here. And none of the pictures show where that's going to be. Just so when you come back, if that would be great to at least have that in. And then
I think there was a blade sign suggested.
A15,
Yeah,
They-
I think there was a
But
view.
It will come back clearer, you're right.
That's where the
it's not,
lavender was.
I just,
Yeah.
it wasn't clear to me where
Yeah.
it's going to say Pete's Coffee or whatever it's going to be there, just where it's going to be.
Is a blade sign legal there?
A blade sign would not be able to be as big as it is right there. The city code only allows, I think, 2.5 square feet of a blade sign that projects over a public sidewalk.
Because it is over the sidewalk. That was the limitation. That's an important piece for you to be aware of.
And the other concern I had was the parking space that's against Miramani on A4, because I don't know how some car is going to get to that space unless they're going to back in.
And we all do in some tight garages.
Yeah, I know, I just was
You
looking
need
at,
someone on the street holding traffic going.
yeah,
Yeah.
Well, my daughter manages the coffee shop, so
okay.
she's got a little car. Any of you
Ask
met
for
my
second
daughter?
bite?
Yeah,
Duho?
I want to echo what's been said about the sidewalk situation in the 8th Street. And I think that's one of the things that I forgot to mention, but I feel strongly that I'm not sure why this 8th Street area will not be conceived as, as the sidewalk continuing all the way around there. I think it becomes, having a landscaped area there seems very at odds and very unurban at that moment. I can't really. I would suggest that the sidewalk continue through, and that you can still integrate the trees and some landscape elements, but still maintain some sidewalk there. To me, it feels very at odds with this fairly urban situation. It's something to consider.
Our architect is going to review all of your comments, and they've been quite thorough, and I certainly appreciate everybody. Phoebe, wonderful that you're speaking as favorably of the project as you have.
It's my pleasure.
Greatly appreciated.
Okay, then, thank you very much, because I see our time is up, and so I'm going to close this study session. And thanks to everybody.